Welcome back to MVGA Podcast. Here at Make Veterans Great Again, my mission is to reach out to fellow brothers and sisters in arms to conquer our mental health together. Just a reminder, you are not alone. Today, I'd like to introduce Tyler, a United States Marine Corps veteran. Welcome to the show, brother. How you been?
Good, buddy. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Can't complain.
Just out of curiosity, what state are you in right now?
I'm in Arizona. What about you?
I'm in Chicago. It's cold.
Okay. Yeah. So I was actually born and raised in Illinois, about 45 minutes south of Chicago in a small country town called Beecher. I doubt you've heard of it. Very few people have. You
Mhm.
have? Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's funny you say that because I just tried to do a cold shower, like to try that as the therapy and like the benefits of it. But the thing is, my cold water is probably your warm water. So I don't really know how cold it is. But for the first 2 seconds, it was pretty cold, and then it got comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, but oh man. Awesome, dude. It's thanks for having me on here. I do appreciate that sincerely.
No, I appreciate you taking the time and being interested in being on the show. Like it genuinely means a lot to me. And I just love having everybody on here because it makes me, I'm doing this for me as much as I'm doing this to help everybody else, right? Like this is helping me build my confidence. It's helping me become more articulate, more social and open. And I also struggle with the self-doubt and the imposter syndrome, right? So like the more people I have come on here and they express their interest and like their gratitude to being on the show, it's like, dude, silence that person, right? Like you are who you are and people appreciate that, like accept it.
Yeah, fun fact for you. Obviously, we'll talk about BAS, but I've got imposter syndrome too. So
Okay. So welcome to the club is what you're saying.
pretty much, bud.
All right. So what was your life like before the military? Were you born and raised in Chicago, or is that just where you ended up?
I'm from the suburbs of Chicago.
Okay.
Um, Born and raised with my mother, single child. Um, sorry.
No worries.
Yeah. Born and raised in the suburbs. I was probably 6, maybe 7, watching Sansi with Jima, my grandma, all her kids. They were obviously like my mom, her brothers, sisters. They were all watching Saving Private Ryan and all that jazz. And I was like, I want to do that. Uh, Ever since I was little, I was super passionate to join the military. I always wanted to join the Marines because of John Wayne. And hey, we all have our reasons for joining.
Hey, sorry for laughing. I shouldn't have, but
No, it's funny as hell.
that's a good story. I like it. So,
Um, yeah, super motivated. You were in the Marines, right?
yes, sir.
Okay. So going through high school, I graduated my junior year to go to boot camp. And I was such a motivated boot that my entire bedroom was covered with Marine Corps knowledge, like such a boot. It was
Okay.
great. Um, but yeah, I super gun ho joined the Corps and had a girlfriend junior year, went to boot camp, had that we're going to break up letter thing in boot camp. I actually remember that. My senior let me call her, which was the coolest thing on the planet.
Yeah.
Got back, or we graduated. They all came out, went home for boot leave, got to do the recruiter's assistance thing. I think that was like another week or whatever it was. So I got to go home and hang out with all my friends, splurge on all the money, smoke and drink, do all the stuff you can't do at that age. Um, but yeah, finished boot leave, went to SOI 0311 Rifleman. Um, and then I checked into 2nd Battalion, 7th Marines out of 29. This
Okay.
was, I checked in November, I think, of 2008. I think that's when it was.
Okay. So you said you were raised by a single mom, or your mom
Yeah.
raised you?
Yeah. She raised me, and I kind of just dumped a whole lot right there for you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, of course. How do you feel like being raised by a single mom helped or hurt you in the military? Like, did you watch how your mom was like driven to provide for you and to make sure you were taken care of, or how did that play a role, if it played a role?
Yeah, no, it definitely did. We all joined the service for reasons outside of John Wayne. There's other things underneath the surface.
Right.
Um, my father figure was my grandfather, who was a Navy vet. Um, my mother worked her butt off to take care of us. She also had her own family issues, her own traumas and things that obviously had a backblast onto me. She liked to drink, uh, but she provided a work ethic, a work ethic conducive to her generation, not to ours.
Right.
The Americana, work your ass off, shove your shit down, get it done kind of thing.
Yeah. Like just suppress your suffering and just go on and just be
Just be a
miserable,
man.
but provide. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hate that's a terrible stigma and way to grow up, you know?
Yeah.
But something I realize it's really hard to at first to like pause, like how somebody treats you, right? Or how they treated you your whole life, like your mother, father, whoever. It's very hard to take into account like their traumas and like what they're going through and how they're trying to cope and handle their past, how they're living now. And I don't think I ever even realized that or looked at it that way until like the past, I was probably 30, give or take a year, right? Like it took me that long in my life to realize like, okay, wow, everybody's not perfect. My family's not perfect. My parents aren't perfect. And like just because they raised me where I may say wrong or right here or there, like they were doing the best that they could with what they had and like learning how to manage their stress and traumas too.
Exactly. That's what we're all doing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild to like when you grow up and realize that like, oh shit, like what
They're
were they
human.
going through, you know? Like it's
Yeah.
crazy. It doesn't take away from the fact that some people do things completely wrong and there's no justification for what they may do to you or have done to you, right? But like for I don't want to say simple things because life's not simple, but like for some things and so, you can at least understand where they're coming from and why they're that way in a sense.
Yeah. And if you're 8, 9 years old and mom or dad come home and they're pissed off from the work day, you're going to internalize that yourself when you don't understand that they just spent 14 hours working. And it takes us growing up to be able to be like, oh shit, they're human too. They're trying to be a parent and deal with all this stuff behind the scenes.
Right. There's more to being a parent than just the character aspect of it.
Yeah.
You know, there's the personal. And you said your mom was a heavy drinker.
Yeah. Yeah. I won't go out of respect to whoever's watching this, I won't go incredibly down into the depths of hell, but she drank to the point of almost throwing in the towel when I was a kid.
Okay. And how has that affected you? Like, first question, what route did you take, drinking or no drinking?
No, I drank in the core.
I was gonna say
Oh
like you were contractually an alcoholic for at least 4 years. So
yeah. 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 No, no, I drank for quite some time for sure. But that was one piece to the I mean, we've all got trauma, every single one of us. And
absolutely.
it all starts somewhere. And she was one of the initial firecrackers that built the daisy chain of my future downfall that we'll talk
Okay. Well, since we're gonna get there, let's go. What was your life like during the military, the Marine Corps?
about. It was wild. I enjoy it now that I look back on it. Um, yeah, I was with 2-7. We got to go on the 31st MEU twice. And during that time, I got married as a young boot, met her local. And we got married, had my oldest son, and then I PCSed over to 1-1 Camp Pendleton. And we had no, I deployed to Afghanistan with 1-1, came back, had my oldest son, or my youngest son, excuse me. And then I also have a daughter who I had after the service. 2-7 was a great experience and also incredibly shitty experience because of my badass seniors that I have. Um, the Mews were great. It was wild. I mean, 1-1 got to do the entire Afghanistan thing, and that was a hell of an experience. And when I got back from that, I was dealing with a lot of mental health stuff that I didn't really realize at the time. I was a stigma supporter, obviously, where that's who we are in the service. So that was year 5 or 6, I think, when I got back from my third deployment, Afghanistan. And I was dealing with a lot of marital issues and stuff like that. So like I'd get pissed off super easily, things like that. Drinking a lot more, excuse me, and started seeing a therapist over on the Pogue side of the base, over
Okay.
by the water. And she was like, yeah, it's really not marital issues. There's like other stuff going on. And I eventually ended up at Wounded Warrior Battalion for multiple different appointments for mental health, physical stuff. And essentially, I got medically retired. I had a choice to stay in rehab and go work at like IPAC or somewhere. I don't know. Um, but wasn't going to do that because I was a Marine and a Marine was a warfighter. That was my thought. Um,
Right.
so I took the medical retirement, got out, and it was back then. It was extremely uncomfortable having being at Wounded Warrior Battalion for mental health stuff primarily, having all my limbs and all that jazz, kind of feeling like a sandbagger in a way. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah, I think I can relate to you, right? If I understand correctly, what you're saying is for you, you felt bad being at Wounded Warriors because you had all your extremities, but you've
Mhm.
been to war and you've seen things and you've done things. For me, I didn't go to war. I didn't see things. I didn't do things. And so I suffer like suffering or feeling down or depressed about things because like for example, like you've done more than I have. Like why should I feel bad when you actually earned it, if that makes sense?
And why should and that was my thing. Why I feel like a POS for being at Wounded Warrior Battalion when one of my buddies, who's a couple rooms down from me, doesn't have his leg. Like
Right.
why am I here? I'm a piece of shit, pardon my French, for being here dealing with this shit when clearly he's got a fucking problem.
Right.
So yeah, ended up medically retired. Um, so I got out and I moved to a city directly south of Wisconsin. That's the state above Illinois for anybody that's listening. Um, right on the border, called Rockford. I know you know what it is.
Yeah.
Um, so the family and I convoyed back to Illinois, moved to the Rockford area, and I had a couple silly little jobs. Like for 24 hours, I worked as a security guy, and I was like, I can't do this. This is stupid. Uh, Started working at Ryder, the trucking company.
Okay.
Um, It was a distribution center for like the breakfast foods and stuff like that. And it's a freezer facility. Half of it's 30 degrees, half of it's -10. And that shit hurt my body. I was like, I think I made it 8, 9 months. And I was like, I can't do this. This shit hurts too much. Because
Yeah.
you and I have been pumping weight for years. That shit's gonna hurt our knees regardless in our backs.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I worked there I think 8, 9 months at that writer place, and we were getting family and I getting situated and stuff. And somehow I ended up working over or somehow I ended up getting recruited to work at a Chrysler manufacturing plant in the area. And I was a contractor, so like I wasn't actually employed there, but I was in school for my bachelor's degree, which allowed me to hold this contracting because I was a manager, foreman. Um, during that time, had my youngest, my daughter, and that was a I loved the job. It was very easy for us because I was just moving troops,
Right.
getting the job done. So the plant built different types of vehicles, and I was in charge of about a platoon at first. So I had to just make sure they did their jobs, and it was pretty good to go for me for that stuff. Um, during that time, and this is where a lot of things begin to shift for myself. I was not, I wasn't really addressing anything for myself, be it the transition, be it my own problems. I had a lot of buddies begin passing away during those times. So for me, it was appropriate to remove myself from the veteran community. It's hard to keep friendships with people if they're dropping like dominoes. That was
Right.
my thought process. So I was at that time, dad, husband, employee, working anywhere from 60 hours to 100 plus hours if we were launching a new vehicle. Um, I was a student getting a what's my degree? Small business management,
Okay.
my bachelor's. Because when I got out, I wanted to start a rifle range. So I was like,
Okay.
I need to learn how to run a business. Um, yeah, so I ended up with working constantly, being a student, being a dad, being a husband. That's when my life shifted, to put it lightly. Um, I was working a split shift, Monday, Tuesday night, Friday, Saturday days, and I usually worked one of those days in the middle, overtime. And I remember I was working Monday night, and something happened. A certain song was coming on the radio because I always listen to music in my office, and I don't know what song it was that came on, but something clicked in my head, and like I finished the shift off, and I wasn't right. Got home, I don't know, maybe like 8 o'clock in the morning, we'll say. Got home, wife was up, and I walked in and I was bawling and crying and shit, and I was like, I got to go back to work. She's like, what's wrong? And I was like, I can't be here. I gotta go. So I went back to work, worked day shift, stayed for Tuesday night. So 3 shifts consecutively. And to keep this as PG as possible for everybody that is watching or listening to this, after that 3 shifts, it was 6 months of barely being home, working, drinking, committing adultery, trying to kill myself 3 different times, all within 6 months, and somehow it was either my wife or my mother or both of them. They got me to they got me to this program down in this city at Rush Hospital, and it was a 3 or 4 week veteran program, and it was a group, like a group thing. There was like 13 of us, and I don't know how I made it to that point, coming through all of that, not losing my job in the process, and then ending up at this inpatient, outpatient thing, whatever the fuck it was. Uh, yeah, and during my time there, we got to talk about our experiences in life, the service, how we coped with shit, things like that. And it was an opportunity for me to get my feet planted after so much chaos. And at the same time, realize that I wasn't special. The shit I was dealing with, we all deal with shit. And it was hard for me to realize that because when I was going through shit, when I was going through the proverbial hell, I felt like I was the only one. Couldn't talk to anybody because dudes were dying. I don't know. Fuck the military. There's no point making friends with, try to rekindle relationships with guys if they're dropping. Can't talk to the wife because she doesn't understand. She wasn't fucking there. All my civilian people, they have no clue. They ask stupid fucking questions like if you killed anyone or whatever.
Yeah.
So I felt alone. I felt like I'm dealing with this shit. I'm trying to make the pain go away because like I didn't want to leave my kids, obviously, but I didn't know how to deal with the shit I was going through. And
Understandable.
then, yeah, and then somehow sucking at quitting, which is a gift.
Right.
Um, Being able to go to this program and talk to these other dudes and see that I'm not the only one that's dealing with fucking problems and hearing their stories, sharing my stories and watching someone else feel better from hearing my story, like turning a light switch on for them, like, wow, seeing the hope in somebody's eyes pop.
I went through that same program, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure, except I went to the one in Boston.
Okay.
Uh, for me, it was 2 weeks group therapy, an hour of individual therapy per day, and then just like different events, right?
Hmm.
Yes, sir. And did you have an art class in that?
Yeah.
So that art class is what actually made me realize that we're all thinking the same and going through the same. Because let's just say, for example, I put red around the eyes for like the bloodshed and like the sadness and the tears and all that. And half the class did something similar. And then we all painted it the same way or with the same meaning and representation. Because after we painted it, we were able to discuss it as to like why we did it, what's on there, and all that. So that program is great because, like you said, it gives you a wide range of whether they're veterans or still active duty. You got somebody that was there for 3 years to somebody who's still active to retired after 20, pilots, officers, enlisted, every
Everybody.
branch,
Yeah.
everybody. So and they're from all over, they're from all over the country still. So like it's just it's weird how helpful it is knowing that somebody else is suffering just like you
Mhm.
to like realize like okay, like it is possible to get through this. And I'm sorry if I interrupted you and cut you off. And I also don't worry about being PG because at the end of the day, veteran suicide isn't PG. It's dirty, it's nasty, it's raw, and it's real. So if you feel free to express and be as open as you're wanting to be. Um, if you don't mind, I want to go back a ways and ask you some
Go for it.
questions. So when you first started to go to therapy while still in the Marine Corps, did you feel the stigma, or like you were getting shunned for seeking mental health, or did people not,
Yeah.
did you keep that
Oh,
to
fuck
yourself?
yeah. Fuck
Yeah.
yeah. Oh my God. I I feel like I felt some of the guys were judging me. My command didn't fucking understand. Um, which is fine with the command. I mean, I understand that. Like, your command doesn't have to understand if you're dealing with something. Your fucking job is to go to war. You're in the military.
Right.
Regardless of your MOS, your job's to fight.
Right.
That goes against the grain, no matter what. But I realize I'm dealing with shit. I'm having problems with my guys. I'm having problems at home. I'm having problems sleeping. I have to figure out what the fuck is going on because I'm a shitty squad leader and I need to fix this.
Right. And the way it sounds like, so I went through something where like I couldn't separate home to work and work from home. So there's just a downward spiral of tornado mess everywhere I went. And it was like pure misery. No matter
Yeah.
how bad you wanted to be happy, like it just felt impossible.
But wasn't really even home for me though.
Okay.
Like, Marine Corps came first,
Right.
then the family. And then when I was home, I was usually, if I wasn't doing something for work, I was spending some time with the kids.
Okay.
But yeah, no, it,
How did the stigma and their attitude affect your personal growth and willingness to seek the help?
I didn't really care
Okay.
what any of them thought about the mental health stuff. This thing about like I was pursuing shit because I needed to pursue it. Like I wasn't really like concerned or anything like within my unit. Like I did everything I wanted in the Marine Corps. And I loved my job and the people, but I had some shit I needed to attend to. And the more I opened the box within my head, the more I realized I needed the fucking help. And it got to the point where I was having multiple different appointments for different things, to the point that Wounded Warrior Battalion was the place to put me because I wasn't fucking working anymore. I was active in different types of care, which at the same time, it was too much care, if that makes sense. So many different appointments for different things, not having any time to process shit. I feel like going from a anger management class to a depression class to I don't even remember. I had so many different things: group things, depression things, anger things, individual things, EMDR, like so much shit. So I feel like it was a whirlwind of shit. And I remember when I used to talk to my ex-wife, she would just say how I was just fucking all over the place still when I was in, because I just spent all day at different types of fucking therapies.
Yeah, so after I checked myself in about a year or so ago, I believe now, when I got out, I overwhelmed myself with therapy. Like I was going to group therapy 5 days a week, and then I was doing one-on-one therapy once a week. There's a such thing as too much therapy, at least for me, and that was way too much because first of all, the one-on-one therapist and the group therapist, they're not doing the same type of therapy and sometimes conflict each other. But still, like talking about things every day, like you don't have time to
Sit with it and
rest.
process.
Yeah, sit, process, and like evaluate and move on. Like you're just always approaching something different and something new, and it's just you're opening up all these chapters without completing them.
Exactly. And opening all that, opening all of that up and not, and pulling out skeletons of whatever kind you're ripping all the shit out of the closet, and I don't want to sit with it. So I'm going to go find something else to keep me busy so I don't have to just process what I just talked about. I'm going to go sign up for art therapy, do that shit. I don't want to sit alone and think about this. There's no way in hell.
Right. But
Yes.
that's a huge part of therapy that I for a long time never understood, right? Like you go to therapy expecting to be healed in therapy, but the healing is at home when you're on your own and you're living through what you just talked about and you're trying to learn how to deal with it, manage it, cope it, healthful, however you want to put that word, right? And like you homework. You have to do your fucking therapy homework because for the longest time I didn't. And then I was like, therapy isn't working for me. I'm tired of switching therapists, like yada yada yada. And I got disgruntled for a little bit, but then I finally found the therapist that worked for me, and I'm finally doing my homework. And the changes and the differences is like outstanding. One more thing I want to ask you about is when you were at the Wounded Warrior Battalion and you felt like you were, for lack of better words, a piece of shit, right? For being there with all your extremities. Um, how were you able to get over that feeling while still there, or are you working on it now?
No, it's over. Like I already processed that shit. But fortunately for me at that time, though, I was also incredibly medicated.
Okay.
I was on like a dozen different pills. So it was a whirlwind, and the whole thing was a hot mess for me. Like all the different therapies, being on all this different medication, not really having, like, I built my schedule. It was looking back, it's wild the way that shit ran back then. But no, I think I processed all that when I was actually confronting my stuff a few years later.
Okay.
Because like for me now, like I don't give a shit. Like I'm not a Marine anymore. That was a chapter of my life.
So you don't buy into the once a Marine, always a Marine?
I feel that that is completely appropriate for some people.
Okay.
I Yes, if I want to go Semper Gumby right now, I earn the fucking title until the day I die. I love the Marine Corps and the military. Obviously, I mean,
Right.
you see the shit I put out there, but I'm not a Marine anymore. It was a job that's over. I can look back and be grateful for my experiences, but I don't identify as a Marine. I don't
I
even
think
identify as a veteran.
oh,
I'm just
okay.
I am a therapist in training who was in the military, who's built his life to serve the community. So it
Interesting.
probably doesn't make sense to some people, but that's okay.
I think I'm tracking here because there's something I heard where they said that like as veterans, we got to stop identifying as our issues, right? And so if like part of your issue was being a Marine in a sense, like the stigma that comes with the therapy and yada, everything that goes into it, right? Like you got to stop identifying as that part of your life to be able to grow and move on to this new chapter of your life.
I believe a lot of us like to view our time in service as the best job we ever had, as the varsity jacket from that football fucking touchdown 50 years ago. Like you and I have had some amazing and some shitty experiences in the service. We have made some incredible friends and some complete empty uniforms.
Yeah.
People that somehow made it through. But it was one chapter of our life. Like I wasn't a Marine before I went to MCRD San Diego. I was Tyler. I was a high school kid that got along with everybody. Now I'm on a academic crusade for the next X amount of years until I'm done to learn about the mind because I love the mind. I'm running this business to provide Overwatch for people and just provide fucking basic education. Not basic, that's ignorant. Provide education for people to absorb. And I am not, that was one phase for me as I was building my self concept of who I am as a person that fit the left and right lateral limits of what I was looking for as an identity. That was my sense of purpose being a Marine, or so I thought. But our sense of purpose is, well, what do we love? What are we good at? How can we make a living? Do we have a community, and how can we serve? And we did all of that within the Marine Corps. But like now, my community is you, the person we were talking about right before that you interviewed, podcasted, I think is the term. I make a living various different ways through money. I'm serving through your podcast, my business, my future. I love talking to people and being empathetic and building that trust and watching that light go on in their eyes. All of that is who I am now. I can take my experiences and appropriately utilize them within whatever the conversation is.
So you were able to readjust your purpose and find your new calling in life based off
Exactly.
of all of life experiences, but especially the ones through the Marine Corps. And I think, is that when you started to I don't know what I want to say properly, but
Have a
like, is that when,
passion
what was that?
when I began to develop the passion that I have now.
No, but when you started to develop the passion you have now, is that when the light switch in your mental health turned on to like going more towards the healthy and more positive side, or were you already there? Like, was this passion and calling of helping and serving through therapy and what you're doing now like a huge help beneficial factor to your mental health?
Back then, you're saying?
Yes.
When I got out of that program, the first thing I did, and I am answering your question right now.
Yeah, no worries.
I went to my vet center with my social worker that I had with my wife and told her that I wanted a divorce. That was the very first thing I did. And I smile at it now because I can look back on those times through a different lens. And I didn't know who I was. I was a Marine and I never wanted to stop being a Marine. I joined the Corps to fight and die overseas because that's what the badasses do. And I didn't get to do that. I didn't get to die in the whatever they say, blaze of glory. Um, and I dealt with all these different issues, and I didn't want to address this shit because I was a Marine and I was a sergeant squad leader. I had to shove this shit down. My emotional flak jacket was so fucking heavy that my back gave out, so to speak. And by the time I ended up at that program, I didn't know who I was because everything I was trying to hold on to wasn't sustainable. It wasn't working. It wasn't conducive anymore. And like with the marriage that I had, I was in the Corps for 7 years. We were married for 10 when it ended. Um, but I never knew her because it was when I was in the Corps, I was a Marine. That was it. Family was second. When I got out of the Corps, I was all fucked up and I was living at work, playing 1950s. Through the pain that I caused her, her coping mechanisms hurt me because she was trying to survive and she didn't understand things. And she was doing the best she could with the limited information she had, being in a unhealthy relationship. And in order to be a good me, I had to essentially etch a sketch my life and start over. And it was hard. That was probably the hardest thing I've ever done. But our time came to an end, and I had to figure out who the fuck I was because the whole Marine card wasn't fucking working for me. And that was hard to realize because me realizing that I'm essentially letting you down, letting my brothers and sisters down, relinquishing that ego. So through that decision, which obviously resulted in like, you can leave our house now, going back to my hometown, which was about an hour away. I had to start from scratch with everything. That job, I was like, I have to get the fuck away from here because this place is just triggering. I survived hell as I work here. So I had to get out of there. I had to find a new job. Obviously, I had to find a place to live. Moving an hour away, new social network. Didn't really talk to the veteran community still. Got reintroduced to it because of that program. But like I said, it was an Etch-a-Sketch. So the newfound commitment, authentic commitment to my growth and my mental health. That's when the passion for like the light switch began. Because
Okay.
I had to rebuild everything in my life down to my foundational habits, redefining my sense of purpose. It was fucking MCRD 2.0 in a way.
Yeah, understood.
And
Probably harder to be honest.
but it depends on the person.
But
But
we're talking about your story.
yeah, yeah. No, but I mean, like for me, I mean, I survived hell though, my own hell, my
Right.
self-induced hell, and yeah, I ended up leaving that company, and I was selling. No, not yet. Before I left that company, I went out to California to a veteran organization that no longer exists, and they focused on PTSD for vets, fire, and cop. And during that time, it was like a week-long cohort. Learned a bunch of different things. It was an incredible experience. It talked about different cultures that used to exist, like the Spartans. Obviously, we coddle them all the time. The Native Americans, the Buddhists, all these different cultures that had their own types of warriors, and how they would heal and recover, and how the individual cultures that they came from, how their civilians supported them. And we learned various different cultures and modalities to healing. And it was an incredible experience. And when I got back from that, quit that job, started working at a safety sales job. I was selling safety shit, and was doing that for a while. Going through the divorce, I think the divorce finished about that time. Was doing the sales job for, I think it was about a year, and I got fired for doing the OK hand and arm signal inverted, because apparently at the time I was fired right before COVID, the OK symbol inverted was a white supremacist thing. So apparently I got fired for doing something I did for years in the Corps.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about? Slug bug kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got fired from that job, which was wild. But during that time, I divorce was done. I was seeing my kids and everything, which was good. Um, Obviously, I was in therapy. I was making new friends. I got into a gym. Um, yeah. So we can. Do you have any questions about any of that before I continue?
No, I mean, it
Okay.
just sounds like that you were coping through work for a long time, and I'm sure drinking.
Yeah, the drinking stopped for a while after the program.
Okay.
Uh, and then for a while afterwards, I'd have a drink every now and then, but no like getting blackout drunk or getting drunk, anything like that. Um, but yeah, after the sales job, I actually, because that's right when COVID happened, um, I went out to that organization in Southern California and we had a cohort like the week COVID dropped. I remember that. We were all of us staff, we were trying to figure out all their flights back because all the airports were shutting down, uh, which was wild. Uh, yeah, that cohort ended, COVID started, went back, and I was like, well, fuck this. This sucks. Trying to keep everybody at home. So I was like, I'm going to go. One of the guys that worked for that organization lived out in the Redwoods. So I packed all my shit, moved out with him for the summer, just living
Okay.
out in the forest. And it was a great and wild time because I got to continue to work on myself and figure out shit that I enjoyed, things I didn't enjoy. Um, I was like, okay, I need to finish my bachelor's degree. I've had a pretty substantial gap because of some shit that I was going through. I need to finish this degree. And I was going through voc rehab. I don't know if you've heard of that. I
Yes,
think
sir.
I think they call it something else now.
No, still
Um,
voc rehab.
okay. I was trying to get back on the horn with them to finish that, and they're like, "Well, you're in another state. Like, you got to come back." Fine. So I ended up packing my shit up, moving back, um, and essentially just finished that degree. And as I finished that degree, I launched the business and then started my master's. Where
Okay.
do you want me to go from there? Because that's multiple different points.
Let's hear about your business.
Okay. So back asthma solutions, BAS. The thought process behind it initially was I was doing a lot of that, the stuff I share on there. I was doing a lot of it on my personal page already. And I had a lot of, now that I was coming back into the fold of our community, I was talking to a lot of different guys, and lots of dudes were still dropping quickly. And I was heavily engaged with the veteran community here, talking to different people, going to people's houses to hang out, chat with them, doing whatever I can to talk to guys. Um, and I was like, I need to find a way to help the community. And my thought was make a page, make a page online through the socials because I never fucked with Instagram before, and Facebook's always been trash, honestly. You know that. Um,
I got kicked off of Facebook because of
Of
my
course
name.
you did. For what?
My Make Veterans Great Again. They some
They
random
took it.
person messaged me and said, "Would you ever consider changing your name?" And then before I could even respond, I was banned. But moving us, moving on. Sorry.
It's all about perspective, man. And if someone wants to be triggered by something they don't understand without having a constructive conversation, then I hope they can find that help somewhere.
Right. And like with all due respect, like I'm glad you're triggered because veteran suicide rate is something triggering. And I'm hoping I don't want you to be triggered and it causes something negative for you, right? I want you to be triggered to be curious and
Yeah.
inquisitive. So whether you attack me about it or you're on my side about it, right? Like whichever one it is, it's still going to raise more awareness and like bring more questions. And hopefully I'm able to answer those questions for you. But that's
Yeah.
my piece.
Yeah. No, and it's fucking spot on. Um, yeah, but I went out of the gate wanting to help people, wanting to be a coach to guide people through it, make some money in a structured way, talking to people, helping them not fucking do what I did and be way better. That's how it went out of the gate. And then as I started doing it, and I mean, the page has grown faster than I expected. Like it's mind blowing to see because when I went out of it, I love what everybody's doing on social media in general. There's a few guys that are fucking scumbags. Like I'm not
Right.
going to sugarcoat it,
It's bad apples
but
everywhere though.
yeah. But within our space, I mean, we've got like Tom Schumann, Red Stick, Norseman. We got all the leadership pages crushing their shit, and it's awesome. Some of the stuff doesn't align with me. That's why I don't share everybody's stuff. Like I'm not sharing shit on politics that has nothing to do with me or
I agree.
conflict. But like some of them write some amazing stuff, and some of them write stuff that dip into my lane, which I love, and then I can share it. You've got like Adam from Goons Up that has built a fucking tribe, and I love seeing that. We've got we got all the Edgar Allan Poes out there with the poetry, just rocking it right now, and that's the coolest shit to see. And I am not a poetic dude in the slightest.
Right.
And watching all these different pages, I'm like, there's no one doing mental health shit. Like, it's the most important fucking topic because it's the topic that lasts from infancy to death. And with our community, suicide's a fucking problem. And all the other Red Star clusters that the veteran and active duty community have to deal with whatever topic it is. And I saw back then, I saw a few pages that were, I guess, mental health advocates in a way, people that actually talked about some stuff. And I was like, that's fucking great. Like, I need to keep pushing this stuff. I I need to continue to talk about sense of purpose and foundational habits and stuff, but I need to talk about the shit that no one's fucking talking about. I need to take the Kevlar off of mental health and actually talk about this stuff. And BAS initially being a help you grow coaching type of thing, it shifted into more of a mental health page, which I'm fine with because that's what I care about. My goal, fuck the money at the end of the day. There's money everywhere. We know that. We can get it any way we want. My goal with BAS is to enrich one person's life every single day. And God forbid if I can help one person not make that decision, that's a win.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, I'm not where I want to be yet, said every human ever. Um,
Right.
I love the page because I could connect with a whole lot of people and I do my damnedest to apply to every single person that sends me a DM. I get some stupid shit, like some real unhealthy crap that I won't respond to. But most people ask questions or say thank you, things like that. And I love it. Makes me feel so fucking good
Yeah,
when
I
I
love your page. I share your shit almost every day.
and I appreciate you and love you for that, brother. But it's when I was trying to kill myself multiple fucking times, no one understood what I was going through. There's no way that you would have a fucking clue, and there's no way you could fucking help because you weren't there. You don't get it. So I'm going to continue to add pounds and pounds and pounds of pain into this fucking pressure cooker and expect it to just fucking be okay without it going off. When in fact, the one thing there was no page on Facebook about mental health shit besides the like corporate fucking Wounded Warrior Project and that shit. And I have my limbs, so that doesn't apply to me. There was no page on Facebook for me to really get information. And when I was hurting, the one thing that I never did was go through the Rolodex on my phone and call every motherfucker. Because no one's gonna know, no one's gonna help me. I'm not gonna waste their time. Like if I would have did that, I'm sure that would have changed my life. I don't know, for the worse, maybe. Like I love where I am today. I am so fucking rich in life, and I'm not talking money. But me being able to contact everyone, that could have saved a lot of that. I wouldn't be where I am today, obviously. But does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, like literally
Like
to save yourself or somebody else, all you have to do is pick up the, I mean, not all you have to do, but like picking up the phone has the ability to save you and or somebody else, right? But when you're going through it, one, you don't want to be a burden to other people. Two, you don't feel like they'll ever understand. And three, you just don't want to express yourself. You just want to take it on yourself. Oh,
yeah.
am I wrong?
Yeah. No,
Okay.
you're fucking spot on. And that's BAS. I care about you. That's fucking it. I care about you. We're all in this together. We're all on this patrol called life together. Like,
Absolutely.
yeah, if you're fucking hurting, call someone or DM someone. That's why I respond to fucking DMs. That's why I try to stay consistent as shit with posting. Because
Right.
we need consistency and discipline in our lives. And I'm not saying discipline like Jocko and fucking Goggins. I'm saying discipline like you have to hydrate and eat good fucking food, and you need to obsess over your sleep. And you need, when you're pissed off and stressed, you need to verbalize 5 things you're fucking grateful for, because that's 2 parts of your brain, and the gratitude beats the anger. Scientifically fucking proven. Like, you have to haze your fucking body.
You really
Like,
do.
all of those things still fucking apply, from the chow hall to the PFT. All of that shit applies now, but our community becomes fucking lazy.
Yeah.
And it's true because we grow up in a lot of different ways, but we're still a kid in other ways, despite our years in service. There's certain things we don't have to grow up about because we're coddled in the military. It's true. And we get out and we literally have a tendency to do the one thing that was plastered all over SOI: complacency kills. Like it, and it's not anyone's fault either. That's the thing. Like you, for example, brother, if you're lazy as shit, like, and you just got out of the service, it's not your fault. You're learning, you're reintegrating back. You're trying to figure things the fuck out. You're trying to have a identity now that the team is over. But
I feel like that's partially because when it's time, when your contract's up and you know you're getting out, like for me example, I pretty much like dropped my pack and I was like so ready to no longer have a routine, no longer have that structure. And it's taken me 5 years to realize that's exactly what I fucking need if I want to stay healthy mentally and physically, right? Like
Yeah.
when you don't have somebody forcing you to do something, if you don't have the mental strength to force yourself, like you're just not going to fucking do it. And it's going to cause a downward slope until you either hit that rock bottom or you catch a root and start pulling yourself back up.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's like all the stuff that I share on there. I don't want anybody to think that all the stuff I'm talking about, I want you to turn into David Goggins or anything like that. Like whatever your job is, if you work at Walmart and you're happy with that, that's fine. You can get fulfillment and a sense of purpose out of a simple life. There's nothing we've all fucking earned a simple life,
Right.
regardless of what we did in this service. And all of these things that I'm sharing are a digestible MRE version of mental health.
Yeah, you almost break it down Barney style, like
Yeah.
you make it
But
simple to understand and but very fucking relatable.
I try to keep it I try to keep I don't talk about my time in service because it doesn't fucking matter. It was years ago. It means nothing. My time in service is the same as yours. We served our country. I don't talk about that stuff through BAS because it alienates others. Like I'm not going to talk about being an O3 or in Afghanistan or combat or anything like that because what about the fucking motor T monkeys that never deployed or the dude on the ship? Like I try to not alienate the military through my own stuff. I try, obviously, you can make out what the hell I did through some of my photos I share,
Right.
but all the topics, I try to keep it as broad as possible. That's why I like to ask a lot of questions to the community because a Navy public affairs officer has an incredibly different life than an infantry squad leader. And I want to ensure that I'm not putting anyone in the dark through the lessons that I'm sharing. I love World War II and fucking frog skin. That's a lot of the aesthetic, especially with the cartoons, Sergeant Blaze and Captain Ford and all that. But we all know World War II. That's fine. Um, but all of these different points are digestible versions of mental health, our growth, tools and lessons and perspective shifting on so many different things. And with BAS, I do the coaching thing. I don't talk about it often because I don't want to. I don't want to sell shit. Takes away the authenticity of the page. But like I have clients now and we work on different things that they're passionate about, be it time management, be it whatever they want, communication skills, how to not turn a conversation with a loved one into a fucking firefight and how to take that into a collaborative approach and not this battle of fucking Tarawa.
Right.
Because that's the shit that sometimes we struggle with. Like, if you get pissed off, you want to throw that frag into the conversation and just win through fire superiority when we forget instead of doing that to your wife or husband or boyfriend or dog, take a fucking tactical knee for a second and check your 5s and 25s before you destroy a relationship.
It's a great example or a great way to put it because like communication is probably the most
It's
important key, but
it's
it's
the
the hardest thing to do.
but it's not though. But it's not because
It is thought to be.
we've all been on a fucking radio before or a phone or the duty phone. Like we've all understand small unit leadership, be it infantry or not, doesn't matter. We all had to lead someone in some capacity. We all know how to communicate. We just have a hard time, Harvey Dent, flipping the coin over and looking at it through a different lens where your partner is not a fucking boot. It's not a cherry. You don't have to life them up. It's a collaborative approach at building that fucking patrol base, your house. How can we make this fortify and last and sustain? How can this conversation yield results and not sink in Afghanistan?
Right.
And we forget how to shift our perspective on different things. And that's what fucked me up a lot too.
I feel a lot of that is our personal egos that we have built up, whether we recognize it or not. But like the way you want to react to somebody, especially when your reaction is wrong or heated, like you're letting your ego talk for you. And 9 out of 10 times, personally, for me, it's never ended well. Like, yeah, I may have won in the short term, but I just caused long-term problems. I've caused more drama in the future, or I said things I shouldn't have said just because I wanted out of this argument or to win the argument.
Is it ego or is it simply survival tools we've used before that have worked, that have been fine with us? Because we've done that conversation you had with that person, you've done that before and it's been fine.
Right. I think it's a little bit of both. Situation dictates.
Yeah. Except for Gumby.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, and like, I love BAS because I'm putting out all this different information for people to understand that they're not alone. We all experience this shit. I have to enforce boundaries on there. Like I'm not trying to be friends with everybody. I'm there as a service provider and a teacher, an educator, a future therapist. Um, and what I mean by like boundaries and shit is like, yes, I've offered if someone's local and they're fucking not doing shit on Christmas and want to hang out, call me. If you're close, let's grab a bite. Um, I'm not going to share specifics. No one needs to know about those 3 attempts. That serves no purpose. Does that make sense?
Yes and no, because I feel like those 3 attempts can serve a greater purpose, but I'm not 100% sure where you're trying to go with it because, like, you say you don't want to share that, but like, this is what
There is there's some things that do not need to be shared with people.
I
One,
can agree with that.
it's called boundaries. Two, self-disclosure in the process. I am in school to become a therapist. I do not need to air everything to the world. I
Right.
am a professional in training. When I am done with this degree, I'm going to spend 2 or 3 years in the field as a therapist, working with our community. I will be continuing working with the community through BAS. As I move into my second licensure after my degree, then I'm going to be pursuing my doctorate, become a clinical psychologist. That's probably the one I'm going to go for.
Okay.
All of those things. That's why I said academia crusade. I have plans in place to assist our community with the transition out and acquiring additional skills that individuals need when they get out of the service. And there is and I say this with respect, and this is my own personal opinion, there is a misappropriation of funds as it relates to organizations in our community. The problem is not post-traumatic stress. Half the people that have that diagnosis might have it simply for monetary reasons because it's not hard to get that. It's true. Say the right shit.
Right.
Our community has individuals that have post-traumatic stress disorder without a fucking doubt. And I'm not talking about that in particular because it doesn't matter. our community hurts. We just turned into Vietnam veterans. A lot of us didn't get a chance to go experience things we wanted to experience, because that's what it means for us to be insert MOS. A lot of us are coming from this culture of intimacy and social interest out into a world that is so ass backwards and dripping in American privilege that they don't understand a lot of the experiences that we've had, even if we didn't go overseas. And trying to take who we were and mesh it with that is difficult. Grieving the loss of those intimate friendships that we still miss. Obviously, we miss those drunken days at the barracks.
Right. That group
And
therapy.
yeah, and all of these different things, and the military does a good job at transition. It does. We're the only business that has that. It's true. It needs to be, there needs to be another way to improve it. And the reason why I was bringing up the PTSD thing is because so many organizations are fighting PTSD, but that's not the fucking problem. It's the identity changing, the transition process. It's got nothing to do with fucking combat or wounded or PTSD. Yes, there's people that struggle with PTSD. But the veteran suicide thing has blown way the fuck out of proportion. One, because of Hollywood. Two, because dudes have been dealing, as of recently, dudes have been dealing with suicide since Phantom Fury. And it's become normal in the community now. It's true. And it's a painful thing for people to fucking hear. Suicide has been around for GWAT. And when we hurt, well, that's the appropriate solution. Everybody does it. There's all these different services out there, and yet a lot of guys are still killing themselves. Which one do I do? Which one's easier?
Right.
And I don't say that to be mean to anyone or disrespectful, but suicide's not the fucking answer.
Agreed.
It's okay if you feel like absolutely fucking shit. That's fine. Those feelings are not bad feelings. They're there for a fucking reason, homie. Figure it the fuck out. Go talk to somebody. Why do
Right.
you hurt that way? It's not suicide. And my biggest regret about all of that shit is it wasn't my kids. My kids weren't enough for me. So many dudes have died. I don't want to add to the fucking problem. I want to add to the solution. Like, of all of my homies that are fucking gone, when I do check out the right way, I want those fuckers to be proud of me. And
Absolutely.
so many of us, and I've had the conversations for years with guys outside of BAS. She dumped me and it fucking hurts. I got fucking fired. It fucking kills. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Fucking, I didn't get to go fight. My homie killed himself. I could have done more. Like, none of those things are reasons for us to throw in the fucking towel. We just don't know what to do with the pain. And through this education, through BAS, I'm going to become a fucking doctor so I can talk to generals to come up with a fucking solution. We can build a con op for anything. Let's build one for this.
Right.
And I share this stuff because I love the motto from fucking Travis Banyan Foundation. If not me, then who? Like, I share the shit to hold myself accountable.
Right.
And I don't have all the answers. I'm not going to fix the problem. I know that, but I can begin to lay the framework. And if this turns into a multi-generational process, I'm fine with that. It's not PTSD. That's one small component. But it's all our perspectives on things. I hate my life because my boyfriend just dumped me. I'm not going to kill myself. That's the same as if you're in a fucking firefight, you got to fight yourself out of it. You're just going to stand up and catch a round. It's the
Right.
same fucking thing. We just forget the tactics we have now. And it's not check on the boys. Like, that's not the answer. The answer's not calling everyone you know every day. That's not going to do shit. The solution, I believe that a lot of us can do, is get comfortable being real and vulnerable with one another, sharing our stories. We knew the stupidest shit about one another back then.
Right.
The stupidest stuff.
The most embarrassing shit too, to be honest.
And we don't do it now. Like, I don't care about tits and ass, machine gun photos, leadership lessons, Gucci fucking gear with stupid ass music on social media. Like, we need to flood the space that we control with our stories of growth. Like, hey, if you work 100 hours a week and you don't deal with your shit, you're going to fall apart. That's what I did. Don't do that. Hey, practice gratitude, unfuck your sleep, figure it out. Hey, don't get addicted to weed. Invest in yourself in fitness or something. Like, share the tools, share the TTPs, the tactics that work, what hasn't worked. Because I will use me, for example. Right now, I'm great. I love my fucking life. Let's say tomorrow, for example. Say tomorrow, for example, I want to kill myself. Okay. I'm not going to want to talk to you. But I can remember all the shit that I've seen on fucking social media and every fucking story anyone's told me about their growth and how they've overcame things. I have all of those things in the back of my head. I might not want to talk to you, but I can remember that conversation you and I had yesterday. Fuck, he was telling me when he fucking hated himself, he would run for miles to get himself out of that. Fuck it, I might as well try that. Or, damn, I'm gonna get on Instagram. I'm miserable. I don't know what to do. I don't want to drink because I don't have anything to drink. I'm going to get on Instagram and doom scroll and waste fucking time. Damn, look at all these different stories about what people have done to come out of those places. Look at all these different resources. Look at all this research talking about how being grateful and hazing your fucking soul through burpees can help you.
Yeah.
I, I don't want to see shit about fucking. I don't want to see a deployment picture with some stupid ass fucking thing underneath it. Yes, I will see your deployment picture to Thailand, but give me some fucking value behind it. Include a lesson into it.
Right. And I also think that we have to stop being so worried about being our buddy's friend and call them out on their bullshit. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't coddle them and be like, oh yeah, you were right for exploding and being pissed off and hating this. That's what I would do. Like, no, fuck that. Like, you're not helping anything. You're fueling them, you're enabling them to feel like how they're feeling is correct. And it's okay to feel types of ways, and whether it's anger, depression, whatever, but don't be that buddy that just sits there and coddles your friend and tells them what they want to hear. Tell them what they need to hear. I'm not saying go out there and like tell them that they're being bullshit or being a bitch or whatever the case may be, right? But you got to at least put them on the right path. Like,
Mm-hmm.
stop thinking, hey, I want to kill myself. Like what I recently started to do. So I don't know if you
Pause.
saw it.
Pause really quick.
Yes, sir.
Can you see me right now?
Yes, sir.
Because you're frozen. Just so you know.
Okay, let's see.
You're fine. And
But
I know you probably just lost your train of thought.
yeah, but what I'm trying to say is just hold your buddy accountable like you would want to be held accountable in those situations. Like, yeah, you're gonna want someone that give you compassion and like be there for you. But if they're being there for you by just telling you what you want to hear, they're not genuinely being there for you.
Yeah. No, exactly. And it's such a big topic. And I know the little TED talk I just gave hit like 100 different fucking points. But I'm passionate about this, obviously. Like I love talking to people and helping people. I love my academic path. Like I love the mind and psychology and counseling, therapy. Like we used to throw rocks at each other and have stupid ass fucking conversations. It's the same thing.
Right.
And I want to see everyone succeed. And I'm passionate about it, and I say shit that might make people uncomfortable because I don't care. Because I want us to fucking succeed. And we can. We have to just change our tactics on some shit. And that's why I'm becoming a therapist, because I've had shitty fucking therapists. I've made posts about that, what to look for. I want us to understand like therapy is not the end all, it's the beginning. Like you're going to meet a therapist and you still have to do the fucking work.
Absolutely.
Like you have to, if you want to get better, you have to commit to it. No one's going to do it for you. It's your life, it's your experiences, and your experiences matter. I don't give a shit if you killed someone or not. If you're dealing with shit because you transitioned out, that's just as important as Afghanistan or Iraq. Everybody's issues matter. It doesn't fucking matter how badass you think you are. If you're dealing with something, you have to put in the fucking work to grow. And a lot of guys are like, well, I don't want to take fucking medication. And yeah, the VA is one thing. There's good VAs, there's bad VAs. I know that. Met Psychopharmacology is there for a reason. If you are diagnosed with intermittent explosive disorder and you go from 0 to holy fucking Christ in a split second, you might need something to lower your baseline through your psychiatrist. And then your therapist can help you work through that so you can lower the dosage so you don't have to be on that. Yes, a lot of us have been overdiagnosed or taken the wrong shit. And there's a lot of shit that just sucks. But medication works for people. You don't have to do it. Therapy works for people. Group therapy works for people. Not everybody needs to go to cognitive behavioral therapy. Some people benefit from group therapy. Some people benefit from equine, playing with horses, art therapy, music therapy. I mean, there's so much different shit out there.
Yeah, therapy's not a one shoe fits all.
No, no,
Everybody's
and like
different.
you can shop for what you want. And if your therapist is your therapist shitty, or are they holding you accountable? Like, don't fire your therapist prematurely. Check
Right.
check your ego.
But to counter that, it is okay to not feel like you have the right therapist and go find another one. Like
Yeah.
it just all depends. But I understand what you're saying is like, don't be too quick to the gun. Like it's not working. This isn't happening. Like you're gone. And then be deterred and not want to go back to therapy.
And that's what I would like to do, is have my own practice on top of everything else that I'm trying to do. I like to have my own practice that military people can come to and go through their experiences, their pain points, and come up with that treatment plan that works for them. And they'll know that they've got another vet that gets it, that can help them. But that's the thing. Like, I'm not, if BAS goes to 500 million followers, like, when I'm a therapist, I'm there to help somebody.
Right.
And I hope the page grows that big. I hope our community sees this shit and learns about this shit and knows that if you're in a squad of 12 Marines. That's what it was back then. I don't know if it's changed. 3 to 4 of you are dealing with something. Like you're
At
not the
least.
only one. What?
I said at least, yeah, at least 3 to 4.
1 in 4 people.
Right.
1 in 4 people deal with something in their life.
Absolutely. I just want to take this time right now to say, like, I appreciate what you're doing, and I genuinely appreciate you being able to open up and tell me about your suicide attempts, your struggles, as well as talking about like the highlights of your life in a sense, right? Like, I look forward to watching what you're doing next, and I just love and appreciate you, man. Thank you, Tyler.
I love you, buddy.
Do you have any saved rounds before we end the podcast? Anything we
We're
missed?
ending up. We're ending.
Unless you want to keep going, we can go until
I
tomorrow if
mean,
you want.
I mean, what do you have? Do you have any questions or anything? Because I just dumped a lot on you.
Uh, well, what do you feel about when people say like, I don't want to go to therapy because most like it's not a veteran therapist, like they haven't been to war, like they can't help me. How do you feel about that?
I've been there, and it's wrong. That assumption is inaccurate. Because if I was a therapist right now and I met a veteran tomorrow, obviously I have some target indicators. I get that.
Right.
But point being, it doesn't matter if your therapist has a is a veteran or not. That means nothing. Like remove the military. Take a civilian mother gets abused by a stranger. I'm going to say that as PG as possible right now. Her therapist is a guy. He's not going to understand that experience. It doesn't matter. What are your symptoms? You're depressed. You're having nightmares. You're avoidant of trash bags on the highway. Talking about the veteran right now.
Right.
All those different coping mechanisms and maladaptive behaviors have the experience itself doesn't matter because they're trained in your problems, your presenting problems, the pain points you have. I don't fucking sleep. I'm an alcoholic. I'm gambling. They talk to you. They learn about who you are. They develop their treatment plan to help you with this. Doesn't matter if you went to Afghanistan or Iraq or you worked at JCPenney. Yes, it can help with quickening the trust process. Well, Tyler served, he gets it. I'm going to trust him a lot quicker than Joe Schmuckatelli. But they're all trained the same. They're all licensed. They can all lose their licensure and go to jail. Does that
Right.
answer your question?
Yeah. Um, what do you feel like is the biggest problem causing veteran suicide? If you had to put your nail on one head, which would it be?
Oh, oh, just one?
Top three, then. If just one's too hard, top three.
Um, okay. The fostering real relationships with people, the good, the bad, the ugly. Not, hey, bro, how's it going? Like, hey, dude, what's going on, brother? Having the ability to understand that your thoughts are not fucking real and your feelings don't last forever. Being able to sit in the fucking quicksand and know you're not going to drown because you won't. It's your actions that make that happen. The feelings end. That's what I didn't understand. I thought these feelings were going to last forever. They don't. What am I going to do to fix that problem? What rope am I grabbing onto to pull me out of the quicksand? So I can learn how to navigate so I don't step back in. And during that time in my life, I wasn't there. I was literally just falling into it over and over and over again. Third one, my third one, life's fucking hard. Like, we all experience shit, and we have to understand that we're not the only one, that we can get through it. If we want to, we have to take care of ourselves. We have to address our shit. We have to honor the ones that aren't here. Live a life that they would be proud of, and a life that you fucking deserve.
Those are some good ones. Now, I have a question that I thought of while you were talking a little bit earlier. Do you feel that the traumas and the PTSD and that veterans get out with is actually triggered from their experiences in the military, or from it started from earlier in life and it's just triggering? Did that make sense? Like, the root of the problem isn't what you did in the military. The root of the problem is what happened to you at the age of 5 or 10 or whatever the case may be.
Of course, case by case individual, because some people have great childhoods that join the military. That's not everyone has trauma, period. If you have something that happened when you were a kid, it's going to daisy chain to other things. Yes, you have to work backwards on those things. Some of us have experiences, from the service that are the first traumatizing thing
Okay.
that need to be addressed. Not everyone has childhood trauma. Some people have a fucking great upbringing. It's true. Even in the military. That's what they fucking call the Air Force. Kidding. Um,
That's a good one.
but it depends though. And at the same time, PTSD though is very specific in the diagnosis. Were you gonna fucking die? Was someone going to die? Was your life threat? Was someone else's life threat that you are intimately aware of? Like, PTSD is very specific in the diagnosis.
Okay.
A lot of us grieve getting out.
Right. And I think you put it perfectly about getting out earlier, is that like we're reliving our glory days of your high school Letterman jacket, and like you're allowing that to be the end of, you're allowing your service to be the peak of your life when it was just a chapter of your life.
It was the fucking introduction to that story, bro.
Right.
Yeah. But I'm not diminishing the military. Like, I miss the Corps. There's things I miss. I miss fucking the ranges, man. I miss field days with the boys and the pizza nights. I miss those relationships. I miss shooting the guns. I miss that high and mighty feeling when I was a fucking boot.
Yeah.
Like when you didn't get your ass chewed out that week by your seniors, like, I'm a fucking god. Like, I miss
Right.
that. I miss those relationships. I hate that everyone's so far away. But I now have been in contact with some of the guys I served with, but most of my friend group is not people I served. A lot of them are still veterans or active duty, but my friend group now is not the fucking boys. It's more than that.
Yeah, and we got to stop looking at it that like, oh, our boys are so far away from us, instead of looking at like, dude, now I got a free place to travel to. Like, if he's really your boy, and he or she has the room for you, right? Like, now I can visit all these states I never would have had the chance to if I never joined the military, because now I have people everywhere.
And at the same time, and this is a hard one, some of the boys don't grow up. And as we grow up, as we respect our boundaries,
It's a good point.
sometimes we have to let people go. And you're not obligated to stay friends with the boys.
And it's
If your
okay to let
homie,
them go.
if your homie doesn't, if your homie's been working at Walmart and he's drinking all the time and he's hitting up hookers, and that's not good for you, you can let him go. That's You're not obligated to be friends with them forever. And that's a really uncomfortable thing to think about. But it's true. Some dudes like, yeah, I would fucking die for him, but he's gonna get maybe a call once a year because he's not good for me.
Yeah, your boys can be toxic to you and causing traumas in your life, holding you back from life. Like that's why they say that if you want to be better yourself, you better be the dumbest one in your friends group, or like the worst off, so to say. Like you want all your friends to be steps ahead of you so they can help pull you up, because if you're just surrounding yourself by people that are below you, you're slowing and or stopping your progression. But you're feeling this obligation to them, but like obligation to what? Like they're pulling you down and you're feeling obligated that you owe them something. Like you don't know anybody but yourself something. So do what's best for you, and but do what's best for you in the long run, not the short-term gratification. Because if you're chasing the short-term gratification, I have found for myself, like that's what is holding me back. I want to do the next thing that's going to help me today, not I want to do the next thing that's going to help me for the rest of my life or next year or whatever. We got to stop worrying about this instant gratification, because life's fucking rough, as you say. And the more instant gratification you search for, the more you're gonna become addicted to it and continue to seek. I see you want to say something, so I'm gonna let your educated mind speak.
I've been trying to keep the education out of this conversation.
No, but I love it because one, you're helping me and helping me grow and learn and see things in a different aspect. And then two, which is I may not be what I'm venting or saying right now may not be relating to somebody, but you stepping in can fill the voids of what I'm trying to say.
And with the instant gratification, the sense of fucking entitlement, the if you want, become passionate about something. The root of passion is suffering. Become passionate about bettering yourself. Get comfortable being miserable. Open that box. Deal with that shit. Pay it the fuck forward. That's one thing, like my friends, not clients, my friends that I talk to, one thing I explain to them is like, listen, you got to get your shit together, because what if someone reaches out to you and they need your fucking help? What are you going to say? Sorry, bro, I'm not here to help you. Still trying to unfuck my own life. I'm talking like your mental health. Like, I don't care where anyone works, if they're married, how much money they have. I don't give a shit about any of that. Address your stuff. Pay it forward. If we're a fucking tribe that's all on this patrol called life together, fucking prove it.
All right.
Like, straight up, bro. Like, if you're a part of this tribe and you had the courage to die, have the fucking courage to live. Get
Right.
your shit straight. Help another brother in the fight. Throw him a mag. Jesus.
Right. Like you said it earlier, right? Like when you were in a firefight and you were in the worst times of your life, and that are now leading to your thoughts of like wanting to harm yourself. Like you didn't stand up in that worst fucking time. You kept your head down and you went to fucking work,
You
right?
went to fucking work. You had homies with you that could help you, that could throw you a mag, a fucking tool.
Absolutely.
You got the fucking job done. And even if that situation sucked and some bad shit happened, you still pulled through it. You didn't
Right.
have a fucking choice, because you were fucking, if you stood up, you're going to let your homie down. So what about the firefight right now?
Right. And
That's what
like,
I don't understand.
yeah, absolutely. And like wars aren't won by one battle. Do you want to win the battle or do you want to win the war?
And it's
Because
not one by one person either.
yeah, if you want to win the battle, you're seeking for that instant gratification, but in the long term, you're going to lose because you're going to lose this war. So suck it up, take your L. And the only reason it's a loss is if you don't continue moving forward. If you continue moving forward and fighting, no matter how miserable you feel, you're learning, you're growing, and you're still here. You're fighting for the brothers and sisters that are no longer here. right? Like do it for them. If you can't do it
And
for
for
yourself,
yourself. And for yourself too.
well, I genuinely feel that if you can't do it for yourself, you're not going to do it for anybody else at a certain point. Like at a certain point, anybody else is not enough for you.
Yeah.
So, but if you need to trick yourself into thinking that you're not doing it for yourself because your ego's not allowing you to help yourself, then fucking do it for your brother and sister. But deep down, no, you're fucking doing it for yourself.
Amen. And if you want to help combat suicide, share your fucking story. What has worked and what has not worked. That
Sharing your
is the biggest thing.
Yeah, sharing your story does so much, right? Like it just humanizes everybody. It makes me realize that you, Tyler, like you're not this badass squad. You're not just this badass squad leader, that you're human and we have relatable struggles. Like we have two different experiences in the Marine Corps, but we've gone through the same mental programs. We're sharing our stories. We're trying to get other people to share their stories so everybody can realize like we all fucking struggle one way or another. You can either relate to me here, you can relate to him there. It doesn't matter. Just realize you're not alone. Everybody's going through this.
And you can make so much more out of your life than just the surface. This will be my final point for you. Like I said, I'm not a Marine because I'm Tyler. I'm a dad. Okay. I'm a master's student. I run BAS. I'm the director of national chapters for PBA. I support the Chicago Marines Foundation. I've got awesome friends at my gym that never fucking served, but every relationship is planting a tree starting somewhere. I just picked up swimming. I just picked up swimming because I have to up my self-care even more so because the gym gets fucking tired. I want to swim in my thoughts, try to be a fucking rhinoceros in the pool, which is amazing.
Right.
Go to school, work on the content for BAS to help you. FaceTime my kids as often as I can. There's so much happening in my life and I'm grateful for it. No, I'm not where I want to be right now. But when I do hit a tough spot, like when I had fucking nightmares 2 nights ago, I can turn around metaphorically and look at all the fucking progress. And it's hard for us to do that because we're so focused on the fucking objective that we don't check our six. I hate that term. We
Right.
don't turn the fuck around and look at all the progress we've made because we have to remember to be where our fucking boots are in the moment, grateful for right now. Not not Dr. Tyler or therapist Tyler, not 1,200 follower BAS Tyler, just me right fucking now talking to you, Josh. That's it. That's my fucking life right now. Not this fucking paper I have to do after this podcast. Not the client I got later today. It's you and me right now, and I love it.
Right. You made a great point, and we'll see if my brain remembers it. But you're I don't think you're ever going to be genuinely happy where you're at in life right now. Like, or you're never going to be where you want to be in life because your goals are always growing, especially when you're achieving
Always.
them.
Yeah.
So don't look at that you're not where you want to be in your life, so you're a failure. Look at where you're at in your life now and see the person you would that a year ago, the person you would be damn fucking happy that you are where you're at now. Because that person a year ago probably never thought that you could even get to where you're at right now.
Exactly. Be the hero the younger version of yourself needed. Set your long-term fucking goals and be in the moment.
All right.
Have
And
an azimuth.
absolutely know your long term goal, but the achievement is reaching each short term goal leading up to that long term goal. So don't
Which
feel
is
like you're a failure because you're not reaching that long term goal. It's a long term goal for a reason.
one show at a time, man.
Absolutely, dude.
Never
I
change.
keep bringing that back.
Never
Uh,
change it.
So, one more thing. We've
Yeah.
talked about negative coping, where you just kept yourself at work, drinking, yada, yada, yada.
Mhm.
What are some positive coping mechanisms you use?
For me,
Yes, sir.
I'm active in my therapy still. I will always be in therapy as a therapist, as a fucking doctor. I will always be in therapy because I'm wanting to invest in myself. I place like those foundational habits, my hydration, my diet, my sleep, my gratitude, my fitness, my social circle is ever changing. And I'm authentic with people. I am who I am, like it or not. Like I enjoy a fucking bath with a candle, and I enjoy screamo music when I'm fucking lifting heavy fucking weight.
Right.
Like that's who I am. And I don't want to be a copy and paste version of anyone else except myself. I'm a suicide survivor. I'm a father that's divorced. I'm in school. I'm active in all those little things. I share my story because it helps me. When I talk to people and I hear shit, man, I can apply that to me.
Right. Sounds like another good coping mechanism is the gym and your physical fitness.
Fitness,
Yeah,
fitness, yes.
absolutely.
Any fitness, gym, swim, rock climb, Pilates, yoga, ballroom
Just
dances.
being active, more active than you've been.
Get your heart rate going.
Yes, sir.
Because when we're in that shutdown state, that state of misery, the best way to get out of that is to move your body. And if I'm having a bad fucking day, I'll go for a drive, listen to some music, and just sit with the feelings because they're there for a reason. You can't run away from that shit because if you feel shitty and you try to push that shit down, you can't feel happy. If you suppress any emotion, it affects all of them. That's why they're there.
Right. 100%. So we're approaching 2 hours, so I'm just gonna wrap this up here.
I know.
Again, I love talking to you, and I could talk to you all day. So hopefully, I become more than just a client or somebody on your social media, and we can become friends. You know, as cheesy as that may sound, at the end of the day, I'm gonna have weekdays, and maybe I'll be reach out to you, and vice versa. Like you're more than welcome to reach out to me or talk, bullshit, cry, whatever you need, man. I'm always here. I appreciate what you do. I love your shit, and I'm gonna continue to share whether you talk to me ever again or not. But thank you so much for being you.
Thanks, brother. Love you.
Love you too, bro.